Everyone told me to play Fight and Rage. Wow, 2 in a row. 2 hits in a row. I like Tormented Souls a lot, for the most part. That was a great recommendation. And now you've asked me to play a fantastic beat-em-up. I talk about Streets of Rage 4 on this channel, and it makes sense that a lot of viewers would be pushing me to try Fight and Rage. Not just because it's a great beat-em-up, but because it feels like some aspects of SOR 4 came from Fight and Rage. And that's fair, a lot of things in Fight and Rage come from the original Streets of Rage series. When I sat down to play this, I was amazed by how instantly comfortable I was. The physics, the speed, the feel of the hits, the wall bounce combos, the invincible special mechanic. As a huge fan of SOR 4, it was easy to slide into Fight and Rage and immediately have fun, experiment, and learn. Playing on the hard difficulty, after a few levels I felt like I was being punished for mindless mashing, and I started pushing myself into playing better and mastering the mechanics. Fight and Rage is a very throw-focused game, at least more so than Streets of Rage. Not only do you have a back throw and forward throw, but some characters have air throws that smash down on enemies, and there's a fascinating mechanic that allows you to convert combos into auto grabs, and that's where Fight and Rage's uniqueness comes from. While the classic walk up and grab mechanic is here and quite important, at the end of your character's auto combo, you can actually hold up or down to grab the opponent out of the combo state and throw them behind you or forward. It's an incredibly interesting aspect of the gameplay, and learning it will cause the experience to come alive. Throw animations are invincible, as is the expectation in a game like this, so picking your moment to use those iframes and crowd control opportunities is key to your survival. You have invincible special attacks to be used on the ground or the air, and they drain health every time you use them. Unlike Streets of Rage 4, where the health can be regained by going on the offense and avoiding damage, Fight and Rage has a more old-school approach of making the health cost unrecoverable, but there are more health pickups in the levels to compensate. I'll always prefer SOR 4's design because I think it's a brilliant innovation, but this system works just fine and it's fun. Especially since it works a bit differently by allowing you to charge up a free special attack over time. If you don't use a special for about 10 seconds, your next special will not have a health penalty. This rewards players for learning to not depend on constant specials. And there's a parry system as well. Tapping in the direction of an incoming attack will negate the damage, and you are rewarded with an instant refill of your special meter. It's really interesting because if you're getting comboed by an enemy, you can tap to parry one of the hits and then special out. This is a cool system, one that you're pushed into if you want to find success on higher difficulties, and one that contains lots of depth for you to discover and master if you want to go further, like doing a no-continue arcade run. The combo system isn't the multiplier-based one that I love from SOR 4, but it's also not the pointless one that we got in Shredder's Revenge. Long combos are rewarded with a point bonus at the end of the level, and since you get an extra life every 50,000 points, that's a nice incentive to keep your combo meter going, and style on enemies even when they're already dead. That's another big difference between Fight and Rage and SOR 4 that I'd like to talk about. And sorry to make this so much about comparing the two games, but SOR 4 is one of my favorite games of all time. It's a top-tier beat-em-up, and this isn't about saying what is better or worse in comparison. It's just that I find these differences really interesting. Both games have unique ways to encourage players to style on enemies after they're already dead. SOR 4 does this in 2 ways. First is to keep the combo counter going, because you have a small amount of time before it expires. It's very important to not lose the counter because keeping all that damage going is what gives you large point multipliers. It's the difference between a combo giving you 500 points and giving you 5,000 points. But there's also the green health system. As I already mentioned, specials drain your health and you get it back by going offensive. So if you have a large health deficit, you can extend a combo on an enemy that's already dead, and each hit will continue to refill health. It won't raise the combo multiplier, but you'll get the health back. It's a great reason to learn long combo juggles and OTG setups, because you can get a lot of health back from just comboing one dead guy. Fight and Rage doesn't have this intense combo multiplier system, and it doesn't have the health regen system, but like I said, it does have an end of level point reward for long combos, and the other incentive is the explosion mechanic. Enemies will explode after receiving multiple heavy hits, and these explosions give point bonuses. So you'll want to extend your combos on enemies or groups of enemies that are already dead to try to get them to explode and get those points. Seeing a different approach to this system to get you to do the same stylish, fun thing is fascinating, and it's been one of my favorite parts of this experience. There's a lot of fun ways to extend combo juggles, integrating dash attacks, dashing after launchers, using specials, deciding if you want to sacrifice health to use another special for an extension, and using your rotational attack hitting down to forward to up plus attack, which is a great high damage way to end a combo. And there's a lot more about this game that I really like. I came to appreciate the down and up dash because it helps a lot when I need to avoid charge enemies like this boss or these dogs. Dodge and punish. I've enjoyed the inclusion of different paths that take you to different levels and challenges, different boss fights, and these paths affect the endings. The enemies are fun and varied, plenty of annoying attacks to piss you off, but nothing that you can't learn to deal with and counter. The later levels get a bit out of hand with the swarms of enemies, not because it's too hard and not fun to deal with this many, it's more of a visibility issue. I frequently end up losing my character in the chaos, and a big part of it is the screen shake. It's disorienting. I'm okay with a little bit of screen shake. Some games are actually kind enough to allow you to adjust the amount of screen shake. Is it so hard to make that industry standard? I turned it off in SOR4, I turned it off in Shredder's Revenge, and it's driving me crazy in this game. It's just too much. It's one of the main reasons I get tired and turn the game off before I'd like to. I also don't like how often enemies leave the screen. It's really easy to knock them past the border and you have to wait for them to come back. This happens in some boss fights too, and part of the fight becomes trying to make sure you don't push them off screen, and I'm not a big fan of that. Boss fights actually made me think a lot about the boss fights in Shredder's Revenge, because this is how they should have done it. I hate the boss fights in Shredder's Revenge because they created this combo juggle and wall bounce system in the game that honestly can be pretty fun, but they throw it out in the boss fights to keep them exactly how they were in the arcades. You can't combo them, and it feels like a contradiction. Here you can use all the interesting mechanics of the game against the bosses, so the fun never stops. Some bosses may not let you throw them, or be immune to something, or be hard to hit in certain ways, but they don't just throw out the combo system for boss fights. This is the game I wanted Shredder's Revenge to be now that I think of it. It's fast like Shredder's Revenge, but it's got better enemy variety, a better combo system, a better point system, better hit stop, a better special attack system, better boss fights. It's great. Beyond that, I don't have many criticisms. I like the coin system that unlocks training mode and costumes and playable enemy characters in versus mode, and since the main characters are pretty different, it's been fun to learn them all. Fight and Rage, love it. Thank you for the recommendation, gonna be one of my favorites this year. Hope you've enjoyed this episode of Everyone Told Me to Play, and let's keep the recommendations coming.